Welcome. This is Barry Jones from Angelic Wisdom, and we're here for our weekly angel reading for June 6th through the 12th, 2022. So before I begin, I'd just like to welcome everyone who's returning to this weekly series, and to also welcome anyone who is new to our Angelic Wisdom community. Before I get into the reading itself, I would just like to remind you of a few things. So if you haven't had the opportunity yet to see the monthly general reading for June, and also the 12 zodiac readings, which I call the monthly angel scopes. So if you haven't seen them, there are links to my social media. I know on Facebook and Twitter you can find them easily. You can also go to my community post here on YouTube and find them as well. And let's see, also, just at the beginning of the video, get this out of the way too. Make sure that you, if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed, and to also make sure that the all notification bell has been selected. Because I'm hearing it a lot from different people on different YouTubers, and from the people who are leaving comments saying, oh, there you are. So what really helps the channel and also will help you is to make sure you like the videos, and also if you leave comments, that will create in the algorithm a sense of engagement, and therefore it will keep making sure that it brings you that content, so that it should show up in your feed regularly. And also it just will also bring other content to you that is similar to my own. So there's, I'm sure, many wonderful other readers out there doing angel readings, and so it will just connect you with that as well. So it just is very beneficial. And also I want to just make you aware of this year, being that it's my 10th anniversary year on YouTube, that I've been offering my first time promotional angel reading to everyone, unlimited, for this year. And so if you would like an angel reading with me, and there are other choices there as well, email or half-hour reading, or these angelic coachings, you can go to my current website, theangelschool.com / oh my goodness, so / can't say that word, services page, and you would just select the reading that suits your needs. That there's so all that information's below, and also my new web site will be angelicwisdom.org. So just in case you're watching this in the future, that transition may have happened. Okay, and let's take a deep breath. While I was speaking to you, I was just seeing some things, and the angels, at first it looked like as though someone was sort of, I don't want to say dropping out of the sky, because it was more like they were floating down, but it seemed like in an airport or on the tarmac, or whatever you call it. And then they also wrote twice the word loneliness. And I know that, the last couple of years with the pandemic has really affected people, and probably sort of, I think our ego creates a sense of separation. I mean, that's it. When we see everyone as different from us, when we see, and I'm not just to say that, we can't acknowledge our work as spiritual beings is to keep remembering who we truly are. That is to say, to remember that we are all one, right? That we are all members of one, of the one. And so, in a sense, remember our oneness. Okay, remember our connection. And so there's that truth, that divine universal truth, that we have to hold up despite the um, what our physical eyes see and hear, with all the senses are comprehending a different information. And so we have to rise above that, and we have to keep enforcing it, because otherwise that sense of separation that the ego is trying to perpetuate will continue to evolve and deepen until we can, we end up feeling very isolated, right? And the pandemic sort of exacerbated this. I think social media has really made it even more possible for people to feel isolated, because it seems that we're communicating with each other less, and all of our devices are inhibiting us from, they're keeping us more occupied with more things to do, because they can handle so many things that now we're just engulfed in, handling all these things through these devices, and having less and less time, almost no time for relationships. Um, I was born in the 70s, and it just seemed that, families, like, we had more time for each other. We visited each other more often. Even with your neighbors, there was time, to converse with your neighbor, to chat across the fence, or just things like this. And it seems like, with our devices. So the thing is that a lot of people are dealing with loneliness, and that can create within yourself, it can create a lot of burden, right, on the self. And especially then, the way that just not social media, but our technology, um, it was meant to really free up our time, but it's really loading up our time with more tasks and functions. And so we're getting to a point where we can't even imagine free time, right? All of our time is scheduled, and all of our time, and what we're doing is like we're counting pennies, we're counting seconds. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're counting seconds. And when you're counting seconds, you can't sleep properly, you can't live properly, because in the moment you're counting seconds, the seconds ahead of you. How many seconds did I just use up? And your quality of life is all about quantity, and when this happens, this puts an even greater pressure on the self. And this counting the pennies, or counting the seconds, um, is sort of, I just felt it and it just went away. But it's just really a state of lack, right? It's a profound state of lack. So that, um, it makes you feel like you are in your own world, and you're trying to keep up with what looks like everybody else is doing and the way that they're doing it, and they seem to be um, successful. And then that makes you feel isolated and lonely because you this separation that the ego is projecting it seems to come back around and double or triple or quadruple or a thousandfold, um, sees you as the object of this difference, right? Um, this thing that doesn't fit into anything, and everybody else is normal, and you are completely, there's something wrong with you, right? So we have to be aware of the ego, and this idea of separation and getting caught up in these things, these labels. People are being so affected on social media by what other people think and say about them, especially some of the younger generations who grew up with this as a part of their life. Um, and it's something that we have to be very mindful of. There are lots of things going on in the world right now, and those things make also causes us to feel even more lonely and more isolated, as we're struggling to understand what's going on. We don't recognize people and their actions and why they do things that are so unthinkable. I mean, we've seen, we're hearing in the news about so many numbers of mass shootings occurring in our country daily alone, and it's it's hard to grapple with in the mind, to understand. And so then that kind of um, separation, when we struggle to understand why things are so different, from the way that we might feel or think or believe. So it's we have to keep remembering that we're all one, and that we have to there was something I was hearing. It's like in all of this, when we the idea is that this is a separation that's keeping us from reaching out. And that's not really want you to go, but that's a part of it. It's keeping us from having compassion, from truly understanding what is creating all of these things, so that we can do something that will allow us to help each other, and to heal, to remember, like to bring us together again, to remember who we truly are, to remember us, like to bring the members of all the divine sparks of God back into its awareness of its true state, which is oneness. And the more that we feed into this separation, it isolates us. And the more that we're isolated, I don't know if I want to say it's a judgment, and it's partly that too, but it's the ego's judgment and its projection. The more that we give that voice, the more that we distance ourselves and each other collectively from that awareness of the love of God, the joy of God. And therefore, things like these unspeakable things continue to happen. So we have to remember, and we have to help each other remember. And I mean that in both ways. To remember, to recall the memory of the song of oneness, the song of hope, and to also come together to repair our sight, our spiritual sight, so that we can see the world in a perspective of wholeness, compassion, and that's when we'll be able, where the divine healing balm will come through our hearts and through our projects and all of our efforts and our purpose to help sow the seams where separation, the ego's illusions and projections of fear have torn the tapestry, the sacred tapestry of oneness, that each and every one of us has a place within this tapestry. Each and every one of us has a place within this tapestry. And the tapestry is not complete without one of us not being present. And I remember as a child, growing up in a world where, being gay, and it was, like, it seemed like the whole world hated you. And, I never told anybody, but I remember I was like 9 years old, and I was lying on my bed, and I was so afraid, and that, everybody was, my family, my friends, community, that the most horrible things would happen to me, like if they found out. And I'll never forget it as long as I live. It was the most beautiful moment. And this, what I just said to you, the tapestry, is where I remember it. And it seemed as though it was like, the golden hour, like around the, 4, it was in the summertime, 4 or 5, when it's maybe 6 because of light, I guess. But this golden light, time of the day, nearer sunset, just came in through the window, and it just so soothing and peaceful. And then just a thought occurred to me that we are all like a puzzle piece, and each puzzle piece is a facet of the face of God or source. Now that's what came to me. I mean, it's we're each like a puzzle piece, but a facet of the face of God. So in order for us to see God, in my mind at that time, growing up in Southern Baptist, faith, it was that whatever that presence said to me in my heart, right, that it saved me in a way that day, because it said to me that whatever you're hearing in those sermons, in the conversations that constantly would come up, and at school, the children who, point something out and call you a faggot or this or that, and you hear the minister saying you're going to hell. When that, whatever that loving being said in my heart to that day, was that if your puzzle piece is not there, then no one can see the face of God. So that's why it's so important for us to not feed into separation and the traumas that are hitting us so hard, and all of the things that are going on in the world, and some of it seems just insane, and some of it seems impossible, unfathomable, but we can't allow it to separate us. And I'm talking about separate us from the love of God. We cannot allow it to separate us. So no matter what is going on in your world, in your life, remember that the tapestry of oneness, or the puzzle piece, the puzzle that's the face of God, will never be complete without each and every one of us. And therefore you are important in the completion of the face of God, as I say, knowing who God is. So within ourselves, as we are a facet, we must also remember that we have to remember within ourselves that our spiritual practice is all about the remembering, recall, and bringing together within yourself the whole perspective, the perspective of oneness that allows you to be a chalice for the fullness of God's love, and therefore to be a channel. If you allow separation to divide you within yourself, then you can't lose the fullness of God, but you will believe that you have not the fullness of God's love and support and his angelic team with you. And that's what it kind of means when we say that we are having a dark night of the soul, as though we can't, like all the, like it's like a blackout, right? Of signals and connection and of the heart. And that is not true. But the illusion of separation can project things that feel real, because it will allow you, however you allow your mind to be used, whether it's to say to project separation or to project oneness, you will always, through the laws of attraction, find what you, or observe what you believe. You will find what you believe. Okay? So it's very important that we do not allow anything to separate us within ourselves and then to separate us from each other. All the issues that are coming up, I'm not saying to ignore what we have created in the world. They are our illusions that we're playing with like toys, but God utilizes the toys that we've created to also, he inspires them, always offers you an opportunity to enlighten yourself through the toys that might sometimes have been created as a miscreation, an illusion of the ego. He can still use it. And so let yourself be enlightened through these things that are happening, because that perspective of oneness has profound power and influence that can begin to stream the healing consciousness of oneness that is needed. That's why we come here each week and wherever else you find it for these conversations, because they are a remembering of oneness. No matter what we talk about each time, we always end up remembering. We always bring it into a place where you find peace and hope and joy, hopefully, right? So this is our purpose at this time. It may not seemingly provide the answers that you want sometimes when you feel really hurt by things that occur. But if you're looking for answers to those things that have occurred, you must first seek within the wholeness, the fulfillment of oneness, You have to remember who you are in order to access the wisdom and enlightenment that will help you to bring peace to your soul, and then to help you to offer that peace and healing where it's needed in the world. So let's take a look at the archangel that we're working with. And it's Archangel Raziel. And it says, seek and you will find. Be a wise one. So Archangel Raziel has this beautiful rainbow energy. And this, to me, this is a healing energy. And he helps you to seek answers on a very profound level. So when you have these answers, like, who is God? You know, why do people do these things, and why are these things happening? You know, things on manifestation and alchemy. This is the archangel that you go to really to help you to tap into your own inner wisdom. And this, I was just saying something similar to this before I turned the card. And the seek and you will find. And you got to remember that whatever you are seeking, and you always are, you are finding it. So right now, if you find life lonely, and I was hoping that I was getting across almost a different understanding of what that means. If you find yourself feeling lonely, that means isolated by your ego's illusions that it keeps projecting because of you feeding its focus. And it's dismembering rather than remembering. It's dismembering you every time you feed into it from the love of God, which provides you inherently with the wisdom of understanding and knowledge and awareness. Hindsight, insight, foresight, all of this. Because Archangel Raziel also works with clairvoyance. He can help you with this. But when you allow yourself to feed into your ego's illusion, it dismembers. So therefore you feel lonely. This loneliness is a result, primarily, the core of what we think loneliness is dismemberment from oneness and the love of God, which is still an illusion. It does not exist, and you and I are, and no evil is powerful enough to make anything else but that oneness real. It is impossible. Because we are each just a spark or facet or piece of the puzzle of oneness, of God. And so therefore, we don't hold the power to do anything to this perfection of beingness, that which source God is. We're not the creator, so therefore we can't rewrite the script, or we are not the code originator, so therefore we don't have access to the main server to bug or to contaminate the original codes of light that God continuously sends out, and the seraphim surround, and with their songs, their tones, hold the frequency of God's essence in its purest form, unaltered. The only way that God's love changes is that it expands. The love of God, unconditional love of God, expands based on all that everyone throughout the universe is living, whether we're making mistakes or we're achieving. This is gathered and is transmuted into the highest frequency of love, and it causes the love of God, the conscious and awareness, to expand, but never to decrease or to never become poisoned or contaminated. So be aware of this feeling of loneliness as a sign that we have to shift and start remembering, recall, and bringing our perspective within into a place of oneness and enlightenment. Being willing to see the world through the lens of God. And so, Archangel Raziel, I feel like this week that you're going to get some answers to some very powerful insights that you have been seeking, and that they will transform, heal, and help you to feel less lonely and to experience more joy, which is when you know that you are remembering in that moment. And that joy has the power to sort of lift you up, like that woman who was landing almost like she was floating. It has the power to almost, it's almost like we have wings, like I saw something on YouTube or somewhere where this man had these jet things, so he was able to fly, and it seemed like it's something that is going to be like an air drone where it could be made available. But I think that's the sense that it was giving, and that this vision is that joy will feel like you're flying, and it will allow you to move through your ascension process, to move on your manifestations and goals. It will help you to release, they say, this concept of loneliness that your ego is projecting. All right, there's more I could say about that, but we're really way over time. So let's take a look at the card for the beginning of the week. And we have the Hanged One. And I'm just hearing the word, be patient. Be patient. Don't struggle for the answers. Trust that when you ask, you will receive it. So, just as an example, I used to maybe pull a card for myself, and then, I would not maybe readily receive the answer. And the thing was, I would tell myself, because the thing I was doing is, in the back of my mind, even when I was reading for people, I would see something, and I used to tell myself in the early days, did I see that? What does that mean? All right, and when you start doing that, you're telling yourself, I don't know. And so as long as what you're focused on, so that's a separation thought. So I don't know, because we all know everything, because we're oneness. But in separation, this is why loneliness is such a huge thing, and why, from the perspective of oneness that I'm trying to explain it, why it creates so much confusion and disembodiment, right, of who we truly are, the wealth of who we truly are. And so as you continue to tell yourself, I don't know something, that's what you're saying, you start to feel inadequate, makes you feel lonely. Like, you get where I'm going with this, right? All of these things, this core problem that they're discussing today, separation, is what creates the sense of loneliness. The loneliness that we think that we're focused on is not the true loneliness. So I would have to tell myself, I think I know what that was, and just go with it. And once I started doing that, that's trust. It came to be that that was exactly what it was. And then eventually I stopped doing that. And so if you ever want to know something, and when things pop into your head, don't say, I don't know what that is. Say, I think I know. And then some point you'll say, I know. All right. So be patient with yourself as what you're seeking will come, but there's something that you need to see, or that you need to relax and not perpetuate um, that sense of separation, as if you can't get what you need from God, and you can't understand what you need to understand, and then hear the message from God, because so don't let that do that for you. All right, so the Daughter of Swords is a page of swords, which means that you're beginning to seek knowledge, or that you might begin to obtain new awareness that will provide a profound clarity around something, some issue. But the cards here are being, in a way, very ambiguous. I always think that the Hangman is ambiguous. And since it's the only major arcana card right now, it's sort of like you've got to wait for this knowledge to come. You've got to relax. This is about letting go, surrender. Stop fighting, stop struggling. So this week, you're going to really want to work on letting go of that fight, because that fight, that struggle to want to know, or to beat up on yourself because you're not getting it right away, you're not being clever enough, that is separation. And that creates loneliness, because you'll look at other people and they're getting it, and then you feel even more like more, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but I'm going to say it. You feel even more worse, right? So be aware of comparing yourself, because that comparison is a loneliness, a separation strategy of the ego. And I know we use it, and a lot of people think it's a great thing, but it can only be a great thing if it helpful and healthful, right? So be aware. All right, and we have the Ace of Cups. So this card here gives a sense of, be aware of what you're seeking. I feel like what they're saying is you're seeking joy, right? You're seeking joy. So let your goals be that you're seeking fulfillment of the heart, of the soul, excuse me. You're seeking soul satisfaction. If what you're seeking, the knowledge that you're seeking, is not going to bring you soul satisfaction, it's not worth knowing. And therefore, what is worth knowing, you will not see. So sometimes you ask for this and they bring you something else and you ignore it, because you're not focused on your soul's satisfaction. When you focus on soul satisfaction, you automatically tap into that joy, that essence of joy, which means, what are you doing? Oneness. You're remembering, recalling, and bringing yourself back into the fold. So I feel like whatever it is, you're going to find what you're looking for. But this is the formula. You've got to relax. You got to trust that the information is coming, that new information, the new insight, the clarity that you need is coming. But you must back it with the right purpose. You have to seek it through your soul, not your ego. Your ego is looking for answers because it's afraid. So you might want to know, what's my future, because I'm scared to jump off this cliff. I'm meaning to take this job opportunity. That's fear. You should be asking yourself, is this job opportunity connecting with me on a soul level? Is this what my soul yearns for? Because if it does, then the hell with all your fears, because they can't be possibly real, not in the way that you're imagining them. And I'm not saying that there will not be, challenges, but like a competitive athlete, you will know how to meet those challenges because you know your skills. Like he knows his body because he's trained it and honed it to know these things about himself. And so you're not afraid of the challenge because you have tools already in place, strong enough ones to work on any challenge that might highlight an area of weakness, for you to not separate within yourself, to criticize yourself, but to bring out that essence. Okay. And the card I pulled from the bottom already is the Tower card. And so this is saying your mind is going to be blown, and that your illusions are going to be blown away. If you are patient in the way that we've discussed, and if you're seeking soul satisfaction, that your questions are not coming from a place of fear, but of profound love and deserving. So don't try to figure out what's going to go wrong, but ask how this path might benefit you. And then those answers will come to you in a way that you can receive them, and that you're ready to receive them. When you ask a question out of fear, you fear it, so you're not ready to see the answer. You see, it just makes sense. But this is saying that definitely there's going to be this huge aha, and I hope it's around in the writing, yes, you seeing yourself perpetuating separation, and to catch yourself in reactions and responses to things that are going on in the world, perpetuating separation. Instead of going into fear, go into a place of remembering so that you can be enlightened. And I'll just share this. After the last school shooting, I had a dream, and it was really interesting because I was trying to tell everyone. I was in a school, and I was trying to tell everybody to get back into their rooms. And then it was like I was in my backyard and with my family, and I was trying to tell them, get back in the house. My neighbors, get in the house, stay in the house, don't come out. And nobody was listening to me. And a matter of fact, my neighbors just stood there in her beautiful garden of wildflowers, and she has vegetables in the backyard as well. And then they just stood there. And then my mother, who had passed, and then I'll call her my grandmother-in-law, my uncle's wife's mother, passed recently in the 11th. And she was standing there, and I don't usually have a dream with her at all. And she was standing there, and she was youthful. She was looking beautiful. And then I saw in the vegetable garden 4 angels, baby angels or toddler angels. And they were wearing beautiful white dresses, like Sunday Easter dresses with wings. And they were those 4 angels, were cherub angels, were attending the graves of the children. And so as I was telling this to a friend the other day when I was at the gym, because I said I don't like to talk about things like this because the answers of oneness that I might get might seem like I'm not being compassionate to what's happened. But this is an example of separation the projection of ego and oneness. And as I told you, because I didn't understand it, and I was struggling because didn't want to know, because I didn't want to have to. I knew what they were trying to do, but I didn't want to do it. I didn't want them to try to explain it to me, because I didn't want to get into it and do what I'm doing right now. But I realized, but they all had peace on their faces. They didn't move, which, it gave me a sense that, number one, that they were met, all of those children were met by the other children who have gone through this as well, who are acting as angels on the other side. They have become angels, and they have some understanding that once they cross over, that this is a part of something that could not be prevented, that this was something, we are all of our lives are, as remembering as oneness, we're all here to help each other remember, to recall. We're all beacons of light, if you understand what I'm saying. We're all beacons of light to help each other remember, to recall that we are the oneness of God's love, and to also to bring us back together so that we can love each other and heal our world and have a world of peace. And these children are all participating in that beautiful process. And that's what they were trying to tell me in that dream, that there was nothing, because I did everything I could. I did everything I could, and nobody was listening to me. They did not respond. They stood there. And I believe that souls on the other side, also the adult souls, people who've passed on, also meet each other and met those children to help bring them immediately into the fold of oneness, so that the fear of separation in which they died did not last with them. It did not linger for a second upon their transition. They went into the most beautiful peace, and that those kids who in the past who have died have become angels. Okay? That they have all become angels. I'm seeing energy. So their energy was immediately transmuted into a level of angelic beings, because of they committed themselves from their incarnation to this purpose, that they were immediately like Enoch, Elijah, became Archangel Sandalphon, and Enoch became Archangel Metatron because of their impeccable service. So I just leave you with this. And then in our own lives, can we now be willing to be as noble as these beautiful angels that have triggered the process of provoking change, profound change in our world, helping us to remember who we are and to come together again. So I send you lots of love and angel blessings, and have a beautiful month, or have a beautiful week and a beautiful month. God bless you.